Oh man, you can't make this stuff up. Hey, listen, y'all. It's not enough that every Sunday I have to watch the Miami Dolphins lose in the most embarrassing, wild fashion possible. But now I gotta watch the Miami Heat do it too. It wasn't enough on Sunday. I had to watch Jalen Phillips have Justin Herbert wrapped in his arms and then slide off him like a slip and slide, and then have Dante Trader forget how to tackle and McConkey went 50 yards. It's not enough I had to watch the Dolphins lose like that. But now I have to watch the Heat do a generational sell in the preseason. Kashad Johnson can't inbound the ball. What the hell can Kashad Johnson do? I've been telling y'all to buy all the Kashad Johnson stock, and it was going up for a while. I should have sold the Kashad Johnson stock. Anyways, that's all the overreaction you're gonna get for this game. Obviously, it wasn't a fun one at all. But the whole Heat's preseason hasn't been fun at all. Like not even a little bit. Like, y'all want to know what the worst thing in sports are besides the Miami Heat's 3-point shooting, which is up there. Because, oh boy, was that even uglier tonight than it's been. Keep in mind, this was the Heat's dress rehearsal night. You know, the Heat were going against the Hawks starters. So, by the way, I actually did make a little bit of money on FanDuel, the sponsor of today's video, because when the news was announced that the Heat starters were going to play, you know, outside of Jovic and Hero, who had pre-existing injuries, and we found out the Hawks starters were not going to play. First thing I did was went to FanDuel. The Heat were still plus 145, and within minutes, they went all the way down to minus 170, you know, the money line to win the game. But luckily I cashed out, you know, because I cashed out in the third quarter when the Heat were up. Because rule number 1 of sports betting, always cash out, because you can't lose when you take a profit. But I only threw $10 down because, again, I'm not a degenerate who gambles on preseason. But anyways, shout out to FanDuel. That's why y'all got to be checking that pretty often. But anyways, the worst thing in sports, the Miami Heat's 3-point shooting, Joe Cronin, Mario Cristobal, and then overtime preseason basketball. And that's what we got tonight. We got overtime preseason basketball, which was fun for a little bit. You know, the guys were going back and forth. Ethan Thompson hit some nice shots. Gabe Matson hit a couple of shots. Even Kashad Johnson hit a tough one late. So, I said, I got into it a little bit. You know, shout out Myron Gardner, tied the game with about 3 seconds to go. Great strong take by him. And, well, of course, I didn't want to watch preseason basketball. You know, I feel good for the young guys out there. They all fighting for a contract, fighting for the livelihood. So I felt good for him. And then the Heat were up like 6 with a minute to go or something. And then they couldn't stop fouling 3-point shooters. Luckily, the first guy had a toe on the line, but still fouled him on a long 2. Fouled a 3-point shooter. Vlad Golden almost gave another guy a and one because he almost goaltended because he's so damn slow. And then the Heat had the game in wraps. They just had to inbound the ball. And no, Kashad Johnson's over there throwing the ball away. Gabe Matson can't catch it. You know, Hawks come down and nail the triple for the win. So I'm not even that mad, though, that the Heat lost because, 1, like I told y'all, I cashed out. And 2, I did not want to see double overtime. So I was glad that the Hawks at least hit a 3 to take the lead back because, again, overtime preseason basketball, nobody wants to see that. You know, even just for injuries alone, you already saw Bam get hurt today. You don't want to see nothing else get hurt. So we just saw an extension of boring basketball. That's what the Heat's preseason's been. I mean, seriously, I went to go hoop tonight too. You know, I didn't stay for too long tonight because I wanted to catch up on the DVR so I could watch most of it live. I ended up catching up by the third quarter, which is luckily enough. That's when I cashed out. But the runs at the courts was better today too. Shout out to my guys at 3 Oaks. Got some good runs today, man. The same dude tried to fight me again though. If y'all remember that story from a couple weeks ago. Again, he tried to fight me. I'm sorry you can't guard me. Tough back and forth game today. Game took like 35 minutes, and I hit a deep, you know, like 6 feet behind the line 3-pointer to take the lead back because we were playing deuces. So they hit a 3, I hit a 3 back, and luckily we got to stop and hit a game winner. And then getting mad and shit, whatever. Guard me. I'm only talking shit because he's never gonna see this. That dude, he's very good at basketball. He's much better than me, and he could kick my ass. He's strong as hell. So if you are watching this, I'm only joking. I don't want the smoke. And it's not personal. You know, I like hooping. Guys get their temper off on the courts so they don't do it in their home life. I'm cool with that. You know, I'm even guilty of getting into it with people once in a while just to let, you know, the testosterone fly a little bit. It's nothing personal. Anyways, point is, more exciting hoops at 3 Oaks basketball than in the Miami Heat preseason, you know? And this was a big game tonight, you know, regardless of the loss, because right now I think the Heat are 0-5, And no team has ever went on to win the NBA Finals after going winless in the preseason. So while y'all may not care about their final preseason game Friday at 8 p.m., I do, because that's for all the marbles. That is for the Heat's chance to win a championship against the Grizzlies on Friday. Anyways, as we said, we'll talk about the game a little bit because it was sort of the Heat's dress rehearsal. You did have, I think it was Drew Smith, Norman Powell, Wiggins, Bam, and Ware starting because Jovic was out. I forget if it was some soreness or something like that. I don't know. It sucks the injuries the Heat have had, right? Jovic was playing well, and now we got soreness. You had one full game from Kasparis because he came into the preseason injured, which sucked because we said, okay, all the guards are hurt. You had no Terry. Davion was out. We know Tyler's out. All right, we're going to get to see Kasparis ball out. He was injured. Comes back, plays one game, 10 assists, gets injured again. So no him, no Jovic, already with the injuries with this team. And now your two best players might not be ready for the start of the regular season. We got to see what happened with Bam. Went down in the fourth quarter. Only saw the replay once, so I can't exactly tell what happened. But some people saying he twisted his ankle. He was officially ruled out with a knee contusion, though, which, those can vary depending on the degree of, the bruising that he has. So regular season kicks off in 9 days. So hopefully he'll be ready because I'll be at that game. And I want to see them have a chance because the Magic are big. They probably would have got 20 offensive rebounds without Bam or with Bam being there. Now without Bam, how the hell is he's going to guard Wendell Carter and Paolo and Franz and Mo Wagner? How they going to go and Goga Batadze? How they going to guard all these guys with Jovic, Ware, and Achua? Like, that's going to be ugly. So Bam, please be healthy. Anyways, it wasn't a very exciting starting stint for that group. They got down pretty early, which was disappointing considering they're basically playing the Hawks G League team. But whatever. Like, I'm not going to get crazy about it. Bam was being aggressive, wasn't hitting his shots. I'm not concerned about Bam's very slow start to the preseason. I guess the preseason is pretty much over for him. So I'm not concerned about his poor preseason. We know what Bam is at this point, and I'm not expecting him to be a 20-plus point per game guy, but what he can't be is the guy who he was to start last year, which was taking 7 shots a night, scoring 10 points. You can't be that. Score 18 points a night, try to get 15 to 20 shots up if you can, and I guess 18 points on 15 shots is not really great, but you know what I'm saying? At least take close to 15 shots, and do it efficiently. Don't make them all jump shots. You're a big man. You should be shooting close to 50%. I know you're taking more jump shots, so I'm not saying you got to be 60% like Khalil Ware probably should be, but, be efficient. I don't need Bam to score 20 just because I know he's going to be elite on the defensive side of the ball every single night, and the Heat has other guys to score. If Bam could score 18 and Hero, Powell, Wiggins do what we know that they can do, they should be okay. Even though, again, the three-point shooting is still a concern because they were a bad three-point shooting team last year. You lost arguably your best three-point shooter in Duncan Robinson, and you replaced him with Simone Fontecchio, who, other than bleeding from the eye tonight, hasn't really done nothing. Let me see what the Heat's exact three-point shooting was tonight. Tonight, the Heat finished with 5 of 34 from 3. Jeez, yeah, and 0 of 4 from Fontecchio. Whew. That, I think, might transfer to the regular season, the poor three-point shooting, just because I don't think the personnel is necessarily there. But obviously, Tyler is probably your best three-point shooter now. So when he comes back, that will help. And Norman Powell has had a decent preseason. Tonight, Norman Powell himself finished with 17 points, 2 of 7 from 3. But we still know he's a bit of a spark plug. So yeah, that's basically the biggest concerns. I don't have too much to say about the game. They were down early, which I guess doesn't bode well for Khalil Ware's chances of starting, because this is the first time we did see Bam and Ware play significant minutes together. And although Ware was fine, he didn't shoot great, but nobody did tonight. He still had 11 rebounds. So every single game so far, I believe he's had double-digit rebounds, and I think that's what Spo wants to see the most. But because that starting unit had a pretty bad plus-minus, maybe that helps Spo lean the other way of saying, okay, I think I will start Jovic, if he's even ready. It sounded like he had a minor injury, same with Kasparis. Bam, we don't know yet. Hopefully his is okay, but hopefully you have all these guys to start the season, and at this point, I'm probably leaning towards Jovic starting. If things would have went really well tonight to start, maybe that would have been enough for Spo to say, okay, let's start Khalil Ware, since Khalil Ware's been balling, but for now, he'll probably keep off the bench. But anyways, those guys only played a little bit, or they played, the first half, a little bit in third quarter. Once Bam got hurt, it was pretty much the bench guys from there on out, who was down. They were down in the fourth quarter, made a nice comeback. Again, Gabe Madsen hitting some tough shots. Everybody hit some tough shots to lead them back. And then it was Myron Gardner who had the game-tying shot. Nice floater for him. Went to overtime. The Heat were balling, went up, couldn't stop fouling people, extended an already boring game another 5 minutes because they couldn't stop fouling people. And then, as we said in the beginning, they turned the ball over, and that was wraps. So we're sitting here, the Heat still winless. Not much too exciting about the game. I mean, Eric Reed, even all he kept talking about was the fans or lack of fans being there. And I love Eric Reed, don't get me wrong, but I just think it's kind of a lame move to be talking about the lack of fans in attendance. It's like, bro, it's a preseason game when no one's playing. Like, I don't blame people for not wanting to spend their hard-earned money to go to that game. And it's not like Miami is innocent of, fans showing up late or having... I mean, the Heat arena, they always do pack the house. They always sell out. So I think they get a lot of unjustified hate, from the media. People take a video at tip-off and, the seats are empty. And then, 20 minutes later, it'll be packed. But, so the Heat do get a fair shake there. But that still being said, at tip-off, the games are still empty a lot of times. Now, is it the Heat's fault or the fans' fault? Not necessarily. The traffic in Miami is literally hell. It's hell. And there's a lot of other things to do in Miami. I don't blame the fans for being late at all. That being said, the fans still show up late, So why is Eric Reed getting on the Hawks people for not showing up at all? I don't know. It was preseason, The Falcons were also playing tonight, too. So there's a lot of fans there, which, I mean, obviously, I'm not watching that game. I'm watching the Heat game. But I got a notification that my guy, Bijan Robinson, had an 80-plus yard touchdown. And I was thrilled because in my super big money league with some Heat Twitter guys that y'all know, like Adam Barai, Royal Shepherd, that's my most important league. I was up 5 going into tonight. I had Bijan. My opponent had James Cook. So you would think I'd be in the clear. It says 72%, which I think is way too high. But anything could happen. Bijan could put up a stinker. James Cook could get 3 touchdowns. You never know. But I'm in the clear now because last I checked, I better check again so I don't look like an idiot when I check later. But last I checked, James Cook was doing nothing. And obviously, Bijan had that 80-yard touchdown plus plenty more. So, yeah. Oh, wow. James Cook is doing nothing. Bro, 3 points tonight. Yeah, I'm chilling. Up by about what am I? I'm up probably close to 40 now. Sounds like I got the win there. Thank God. Let's look at the box score a little bit, I guess. See if anyone really stood out here. Wiggins, nope. Bam. 36%? That's not good. Khalil Ware, we talked about him. We talked about Powell. Drew Smith today, only 3 points. And nobody stands out here. I guess I should mention Jaime Jaquez now that I see his name here. 17 points for him. 7 of 14 from 3. Wow, imagine that. 7 of 14 from the field. 1 of 2 from 3. Very aggressive today. Actually helped lead that comeback in the second quarter because he was getting to the free throw line, getting to in the post, showing that footwork that y'all know I got a foot fetish for. Love Jaime Jaquez post game. Love his footwork. And his aggressiveness is what helped lead the Heat back. So shout out to him. And dare I say, in the preseason, he's like 50% from 3, over 50%. I feel like every game he's either been 1 of 1 or 1 for 2. I don't know if I could find Jaime's preseason stats, but if I remember correctly, he is I don't know. I'm not going to spend time here looking for his preseason stats. I don't even know if Basketball Reference keeps that, but I'm pretty sure he's at 50%, which obviously is very critical. Him and Pella Larson, I think the development of those two's shooting capabilities will be very important. Yeah, Pella did not hit one today. But shout out to Jaime. He's one of the few guys that played really well. And Davion Mitchell had his moments too. Nice to see him look healthy again. Although I was getting PTSD of him balling out in the playing game last year, which we know, of course, cost the Heat's chances at getting Cooper Flagg, because the Heat would have had the 11th odds, which ended up going to the Mavericks. And now they got Cooper Flagg, who I saw was starting at point guard tonight. Okay, that game didn't tip off yet, but I'm going to have to check out some of that because Cooper Flagg at point is going to be nasty. But yeah, outside of him, got a lot of run for the Exhibit 10 guys late. And Ethan Thompson stood out of that bunch, 17 points for him. Had the tough bucket late to put the Heat up 2 possessions. You thought that was going to be the dagger. Obviously, it wasn't. But he was good today, although he did foul one of the 3-point shooters late too. But the only guy we probably should talk about, aside from Kashad being kind of disappointing, because he was the standard contract guy playing with the Exhibit 10 guys and really didn't stand out. But Vlad Golden, another guy who has a more valuable contract. He's an actual two-way player. These cheeks. I hate to say it, he seems like a nice guy. I've seen a lot of clips of him talking in practice. He seems like a good, funny dude. but he's just so slow. 11 minutes today, 0 points, 5 rebounds. Only 0 of 1, but unfortunately, he's just a little too unathletic, I think, to play in this league. But I think the Heat they might have 3 two-way spots up for grabs, really. Because, although Myron Gardner hit the game winner tonight, what did he finish with today? 4 points, 5 rebounds. Yeah, I'm not going to act like he stood out this preseason. I like what he brings defensively, aside from constantly fouling guys. But I don't think his spot is safe on the two-way. I don't think Vlad Golden is. And the Heat still have another one available, so we'll see if any of the other young guys pop in the G League. Maybe they bring him back up. Gabe Madison played well tonight. Maybe Trevor Keels, who will be in Sioux Falls, plays well. So maybe one of those guys gets the two-way. Or maybe it's somebody completely random we never heard of. I don't know. Maybe it's Charles Bassey, who we talked about in the Summer League because he killed Miami. He played with the Boston Celtics Summer League, and he played very well tonight for the Hawks. What did he finish with today? Charles Bassey had 17 rebounds. Wow. He might actually be on a two-way with the Hawks. I'm not too sure what his contract status is, but yeah, whatever. That's all I got to say for this video. The Heat play for the NBA championship on Friday versus the Memphis Grizzlies because if they lose, they have no shot to make it all. I want to shout out FanDuel one more time because I was browsing some of the special bets they have on there, and one random one I saw that I like a lot because the odds are so juicy is Victor Wembanyama to record a quadruple-double in any game this year at plus 1,600. $5 pays about 80. Do I think he'll get a quadruple-double? No, because it hasn't happened since probably my boy Hakeem. I know who's done it twice, 30 years ago now. But Vic got close a couple times last year. There'll be a few games where he might get double-digit blocks. So if you tell me I could throw $5 to win 80, I think it's juicy enough to take advantage of. But anyways, make sure y'all leave your thoughts down below. I'm very curious to hear what y'all think. Also, like and subscribe because your support is greatly appreciated. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out, everyone.
Look, pull up in your city trying to get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. This homegrown bitch don't offend me.